In this video, we're going to look at ratios and proportions. And you may ask, why do we need ratios and proportions? Well, they are a way to compare things. So in order to understand statistics better, it is helpful to compare quantities. So two quantities can be compared using ratios, percent, and decimals. In this particular lesson, we're going to focus on ratios. And a ratio is a common way that two quantities can be compared, and it is obtained by dividing one quantity by another. For example, the ratio of students whose major is criminal justice to all students enrolled at BMCC can be written in the following way. We have the criminal justice students, and then 2 would be represented by the line, all students enrolled in BMCC. So we have 2,300 criminal justice students and about 23,000 students that are enrolled in BMCC. So if you notice, I cross out the 2 zeros on the top and the bottom, because top and bottom, if they're the same, it's equal to 1. And then I have 23 over 230, and that would be the same as 1 over 10, or 1 to 10. So 1 criminal justice student to 10 students enrolled in BMCC. So a ratio can be thought of as a fraction where the denominator is called the reference value. In example number 1, there are 2,300 criminal justice majors in BMCC in 2011 and 7,000 liberal arts majors. Compare the number of liberal arts majors to the number of criminal justice majors. Now let's go over to the whiteboard and work this out and see how we can compare these two quantities. In question number 1, we're asked to compare the liberal arts majors to the criminal justice majors in BMCC in 2011. We're given the information that there are 7,000 liberal arts majors and that there are 2,300 criminal justice majors. So we want to figure out, to make a ratio out of this, we want to figure out which one we put on top and which one we put on the bottom. Well, since we're asked to compare liberal arts majors to criminal justice majors, it turns out that we'll put the liberal arts majors on the top compared to the criminal justice majors on the bottom. And we'll just cross out the 2 zeros that are the same on the top as the bottom, and that will give us 70 over 23. And turns out that 23 goes into 70 about 3 times. So this means that there are 3 times more liberal arts majors as there are criminal justice majors. Now coming back here to the PowerPoint, I'm just writing up the same thing that I wrote on the whiteboard, except it's much easier to read on the PowerPoint. And so here I found that the liberal arts majors to the criminal justice majors is 3 to 1, and there are about 3 times as many liberal arts students as criminal justice students, as I mentioned in the whiteboard. In example number 2, In 2011, BMCC had 24,463 students enrolled in the college, 14,580 of whom were women. What was the ratio of men to women in BMCC in 2011? Now let's go over to the whiteboard and work this out and figure out how many men are there to women in BMCC or were in BMCC in 2011.
In example number 2, we're told that BMCC has an enrollment in 2011 of 24,463 students. And of those students, 14,580 are women. So we're asked, what is the ratio of men to women in BMCC in 2011? Well, we only have women. How are we going to find the number of men? Well, we can take the total number of students and subtract the women students, and that will give us the men students. So we can take 24,463, subtract 14,580, and we'll get the number of men students, which is 9,883. So now we have both the women and the men, and we're asked to make the ratio of men to women. Well, we now know the number of men, and that's 9,883. And we were given the number of women, which is 4,580. And I'm going to approximate it. So I'm going to approximate that to about 10,000. So that's going to be 10. And I'm going to approximate the 14,580. So that'll be over 15. So I'm just approximating it. And then I notice 5 goes into 10 2 times, 5 goes into 15 3 times. So I get 2 to 3, which means that for every 2 men in BMCC at that time, there were 3 women students.
Coming back here to the PowerPoint, I just rewrote it, what I did on the whiteboard, a bit more neatly. And here we have total number of students minus female students give us our male students. And here are our numbers so that we find out that there are 9,883 male students. And then we make the ratio just as I did on the whiteboard to conclude that this means that for every 2 men in BMCC, there are about 3 women. In example number 3, a hockey team won 8 games and lost 6. What is the ratio of wins to the number of games?
In question number 3, we are told that a hockey team won 8 games and lost 6 games. And we're asked what the ratio is of wins to the number of games. So wins would be on top, and 2, the number of games, total, would be on bottom. So we have the number of wins. Well, that's 8 games. And how would we find the number of total games? Well, we find the number of total games by adding 8 plus 6, because the total number of games is the games lost plus the games won. So that means we have 8 over 14. And so that would be the ratio. But we could go further and find out the percent of games that are won. So we can take 8 divided by 14, and we get approximately 0.57. But we want to say, well, what percent of the games have they won? Well, I'll take the 0.57 and multiply that by 100%, and I'll get 57%. So that means that this particular hockey team won 50% of the games that they played.
And here it is worked out a little more neatly than I did on the whiteboard. So we have the number of games won, total number of games played, and just like I did on the whiteboard, I added a little bit more, did a little bit more than just merely the ratio, 8 to 14. I also converted it into a decimal and then a percent, which is another way of comparing things. So we came to the conclusion that 57% of the games were won. In example number 4, a women's basketball team won 24 games and lost 32. What is the ratio of games lost to the number of games played? Now let us go over to the whiteboard and work this out.
In question number 4, we're told that a women's basketball team won 24 games and lost 32 games. And again, we're asked to compare the ratio of lost games to the total number of games. Well, we're told that the lost games are 32. And like before, we need to find the number of games by adding up 32 plus 24, and that will give us the total number, because here are the games that are lost, here are the games that are won, and together they make 32. Together, that makes 56 games that were played. And then we reduce that to 4 over 7. Now, another way to write 4 over 7, and one may have seen this, is to write 4:7, which means 4 to 7, or 4 games lost to a total of 7 games.
Returning to the PowerPoint is written a bit more neat. The ratio of lost games to the total number of games is, as shown in the PowerPoint, it turns out that it's 4 to 7, or we can write 4 to 7 this way. Thank you very much. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it will be helpful for you in your studies. Take care and be well.